Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is April the 30th, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Today was good. Been in my bag a little bit mentally today over some silly minor things, but overall, today has been cherry. Apologies in advance for hearing any audio outside. As usual, I'm doing this out of my house, out of my little room, a little apartment room. So results may vary in terms of people clanging and karanging outside. But yeah, where were we? My day. It's been good. It's been good. Let's see. Food Corner was had the Mexican beef and rice bowl, and it was yummy. I fried up a couple of tortillas and then just had one out the skillet. So yeah, very classic vibe. It was very yummy, very good. Let's see here. Really, oh, I had a chicken salad sandwich. I was on some fat shit for my break. I just wanted it. It wasn't even good. It never is. I don't know why I get. I do love a chicken salad sandwich. Sadly, the first time I had a really good one that really turned me on to them was Chick-fil-A. And truthfully, like in hindsight, they just go over the top with it. It's unnecessary, the kind of shit they're putting in their chicken salads, but it works. It's good. Um, the one I had at work though is just it's big. It's got that size. That's nice. It's a pretty big sandwich, but the filling it just isn't very flavorful. You know what I mean? And also it has the weird problem of like if you try to peel the bread off, you can't peel the whole thing apart. And I'm like, man, what kind of cafeteria ass bullshit is this? So I have a personal beef with this chicken salad sandwich, but for some reason I just had like once again one of those little cravings, a little ticks. I don't know. I feel like maybe I am going through it. I don't know. I'm eating more. Maybe it's a stress eating. I listened to Joji the other day, and I thought it was fine. I didn't cry or anything. I always like feel like that's a dub, right? But maybe I am going through it, and I'm just like stuffing it. Oh well. Yeah, enough of the meat corner. Let's get out of there. Let's talk about some real fucked up shit across the world. Yeah, that'll make me not feel better, but that's the goal. That's the objective when we press play on this shit. Okay, so let's do our startup. Let's get right, and then we'll get into it. All right. First story comes from the BBC. Secret document says Iran security forces molested and killed teen protester. Should have said trigger warning before this, but yeah, sexual assault. Gonna try not to get too in the details about this, but I did feel like it was important to talk about at least a little bit. An Iranian teenager was sexually assaulted and killed by three men working for Iran's security forces. A leaked document understood to have been written by those forces says. It has let us map what happened to 16-year-old excuse me, Nika Shakarami, who vanished from an anti-regime protest in 2022. Her body was found 9 days later. The government claims she killed herself, which it's so crude and cruel. Like just the kind of processes they do to kind of cover up this shit. Like even like sending someone like that kind of looked like her to her house, and it's like, and then like having footage of that to be like, yeah, we didn't do anything wrong. It's like, no, dude, come on, like it's garish. But we put yeah, her body was found 9 days later. The government claims she killed herself. We put the report's allegations to Iran's government and its revolutionary guards. They did not respond. Marked highly confidential, the report summarizes a hearing on Nika's case held by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the IRGC, the security force that defends the country's Islamic establishment. It includes what it says are names of her killers and the senior commanders who tried to hide the truth. It contains disturbing details of the events in the back of an undercover van which security forces were restraining Nika. These include one of the men molested her while he was sitting on her. Despite being handcuffed and restrained, she fought back, kicking and swearing, and admission that this provoked the men to beat her with batons and tasers. It's added. There are numerous fake Iranian official documents in circulation, so the BBC spent months checking every detail with multiple sources. Our extensive investigations indicate that the papers do chronicle the teenager's last movements. So yeah, it's very important that they're trying to go through and say, hey, we went out of our way to verify this because of the fact that there is potential of like, oh, this is a fake document, it's made up, it's not real. Also, in the document they add that there's a misspelling, I believe, of like the unit, and they go, no, we verified that, we took this to other people, and they said, no, this still does line up, and it also matches any kind of itinerary we were able to corroborate. So as of now, as of this, I'm going to go with that and say that this is what happened. But it's and I can understand why, because I mean, these are very chilling, fucked up allegations. Like, once again, that right there isn't even the full details, and I really don't want to get into it. But essentially, Nika, she was protesting. This was, I believe, days after Masa Amini had been killed, and that we've talked about that before. And that had sparked a lot of unrest. So she was burning in hijab, saying death to the dictator, and this was something that had gotten her on a radar. So she flees. She calls her, I believe, her aunt or her mom, and lets her know. They do wind up apprehending her, and she winds up in the back of this van. It's like a freezer truck, and they have her like on a table. They have the main driver who is like doing a lot of the talking in terms of like the testimonial from the statement. And I believe there's like 3 people in the back. There's 3 people in the back. So as the situation escalates, because they can't find a place to take her, either they're overcrowded, or the places they're going to take her, they go, oh, well, she's been swearing and kicking and just like causing a ruckus. So like, if we take her to another place with other detainees, it's going to make things worse. So like, we have to calm this down. And then things escalate inside the back of the van. They wind up like one of the men takes their socks, puts it in her mouth. They then proceed to assault her sexually, and then one of the men does, at least according to the statement. And it's disputed by the man that is accused, but he goes, oh, that person's jealous of me. It's actually a lesser version of what he says, but part of that happened, and I can't deny that. And it's like, okay, and then they proceed to beat her. They beat her, once again, with batons and tasers. And then the person stops, the main leader, he stops the van. He, tries to assess the situation, and it's like, okay, let's clean her up, and then drop her off at the under an underpass. And then they proceed to like go through a cover-up operation, and that's what the statement is, including. So obviously, it makes sense why the IRGC isn't really commenting on this kind of shit. This was them in their quote-unquote damage control mode, and they were down to do whatever. It's crazy that this is something that is okayed. You know what I mean? That there really isn't a reprimand there. That, like, for the sexual assault part, once again, this is now corroborated by another person. Even the guy is admitting to some extent. Like, once again, you would think within the parameters here of what you're supposed to be doing, what your charge is, yeah, you should get, like, stoned in a fucking stadium, too. Like, I don't know. That's wild to me. But it just is what it fucking is here, unfortunately, sadly. So, yeah, I mean, this was just something that I definitely did not want to miss in terms of coverage. At least, trying to do my best to talk about it. It is a shame that the number of women who are, just trying to fight for their right, are being silenced like this. And, it just happens in the dark like this, and, that's why when I hear these stories, I just try to do my best to cover them and talk about them. I know I'm I'm not maybe the best guy, I know, but I do try. But let's move on to another story from The Guardian. IS commander wanted for deaths of U.S. forces in Niger killed in operation. An Islamic State group commander wanted in connection with the deaths of U.S. forces in Niger has been killed in an operation by Malian state forces, the country's army said. Abu Suhaifa, known by the alias Higo, was a commander in the group known as the Islamic State in the Greater Sahara. The State Department had announced a reward of up to $5 million for information about him. Huzeifa is believed to have helped carry out an attack in 2017 on U.S. and Nigerian forces in Tongo, Niger, which resulted in the deaths of 4 Americans and 4 Nigerian soldiers. After the attack, the U.S. military scaled back operations with local partners in the Sahel. So, I mean, this was a big win for the Malayan army. I mean, essentially, we really haven't really covered them like since the coup happened. Let's see here. Yeah, Mali has experienced 2 coups since 2020 during a wave of political instability that has swept across West and Central Africa. The country has battled a worsening insurgency by jihadi groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group for more than a decade. So, I mean, this was a dub that they kind of got to flout in the West's faces, you know, since they've, like, you know, kicked out France, or France has kind of pulled out. They don't want them anymore. Then, you know, the state themselves kind of got toppled by the military, so now they're taking over. But they got to say, hey, we got this guy. We got him, not y'all. So I think at least amongst the people, that's a dub. That's something that might be a win. Though, I mean, I'm got to be straight up honest with you. I really haven't been too appraised of the situation in Mali right now. But, I mean, this was a development, so I at least wanted to talk about it. Honestly, that picture of the dude, the Higo dude, that kind of goes hard. I'm not going to lie. Not that I was rooting for dude or anything, you know. But, yeah, they definitely got him. They definitely got their guy. I don't think they're going to make that $5 million, though. It probably is going to go against them, being that they're, you know, considered a coup state and whatnot. But still, you know, very interesting. Let's see here. Was there anything? I'll go ahead and read the last part. Mali has also formed security alliances with Niger and Burkina Faso, both of which are also battling worsening insurgencies and have experienced coups in recent years. Although their militaries promised to end the insurgencies after disposing their respective elected governments, conflict analysts say the violence has instead worsened under their regimes. All 3 nations share borders in the conflict-hit Sahel region, and their security forces are overstretched in fighting the jihadi violence. Yeah, so sadly, and they reference this, you know, kind of scaling back up a little bit, like, they kind of trade one group, you know, they trade the West for then working with the Russians, you know, which I'm not saying, oh, yeah, that's going to work out so well for you, dude. Like, no, I don't think so. So, yeah, I mean, you hope that they at least make things safer for the people, but we talked about Burkina Faso earlier, you know, in previous episodes, and things are not going well there. So, you know, yeah, you might have a situation where it's like, yeah, we got our guy. We this is our 0 Dark 30 moment. But, you know, those things are just good for pressers. You know that you don't actually beat terrorism by getting one dude. You know, the U.S. could teach you that. That's for sure. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on. We've reached the bottom of the page there. The rest is good news. Nobody died. Everybody lives for the rest of this episode. So, hell yeah. ABC News. West Virginia's and North Carolina's transgender care coverage policies discriminate, judges rule. West Virginia's and North Carolina's refusal to cover certain health care for transgender people with government-sponsored insurance is discriminatory. Excuse me. A federal appeals court ruled Monday in a case likely headed to the U.S. Supreme Court. The Richmond-based Sorry, I hit the mic. My bad. Sorry for the jostling. The Richmond-based Fourth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled 8-6 in the case involving coverage of gender-affirming care by North Carolina's state employee health plan and the coverage of gender-affirming surgery by West Virginia Medicaid. Specifically, North Carolina's policy bars treatment or studies leading to or in connection with sex changes or modifications and related care, while West Virginia's bars coverage of transsexual surgery. So yeah, I'm happy that these got turned over, though, I kind of am holding my breath here because, these kind of things have to go to a conservative supercharged majority. Thank you, Donald Trump, I guess. Fuck you, you piece of shit. And we'll have to see how these things fare there. But it is good. It is at least refreshing to see judges saying, hey, stop. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're violating people's rights here. Like, don't do that. Well, there was a part that I did want to talk about that just kind of really fucking upset me. North Carolina's state treasurer Dale Folwell, whose department oversees the state's health plan, said in a news release that Monday's majority decision was in direct conflict with the decisions from federal appeals courts and hopefully will be corrected by the Supreme Court. Folwell said that the state health plan is threatened by financial challenges as the plan's member grows older and their health declines. Accordingly, the plan cannot be everything for everyone, Folwell said. Untethered to the reality of the plan's fiscal situation, the majority option opens the way for any dissatisfied individual to override the plan's reasoned and responsible decisions and drive the plan towards collapse. AKA, he's crying poverty for the state and being like, what if we just had like some rogue trans person and they just wanted to like milk us dry for all the like healthcare for their needs? It's like, okay, like this is part of their rights, dude. Like, this is such a weird thing to try to say, hey, we can't afford it, we can't cover it, the state just can't handle it. Like, get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry, I'm not accepting that. I'm glad to hear at least some set of judges say, no, get that fucking shit out of here. But yeah, we'll see. I really don't want to dwell on this though too long, but you gotta call it a win, right? It's a silver lining, at least in my playbook. God damn it. Yeah, like I said, that was really the only detail that I wanted to cover, because that was just, to me, a new low. To just be like, it's just not in our budget. Pulls out your pocket sideways or out, like, oh, we just can't afford it. Sorry. You just have to, like, just bury who you are inside of yourself or something. I don't know. Too bad. So sad. Like, no, dude, you can actually bear the burden on this financially. Like, spare me your fiscal budget on that shit. Right, you should. I'm just thinking, like, the things we fund. The things we fund as a country. We've talked about some of it. Most of it not good. Anyway, let's move on to our next and last thing. And on that note, we have to do it to him. We have to take our last break. Hopefully you go ahead and take one with me. Let's de-stress. I'm getting hot. I'm getting bothered. I feel like I need to emphasize that in an angry way. Also, let me ask, while I'm just rapping here, have you ever gotten so angry? And I have to be preaching to the choir here, right? Have you ever gotten so angry that your pits sweat? Because that's definitely a thing I do. And I feel like that's just more on my temperament. I just get so angry and I really lean into it. I'm like so expressive about it. And I got to work on that always. But yeah, I hate that shit. I hate when I get so upset that like I just start squirting out of my pits. Like that's my steam out of my ears. Oh my God, I'm realizing that on right here, right now. Oh, that's kind of unfortunate. Ugh. Anyway, let's get back to the news. From USA Today, Biden administration plans to drastically change federal rules on marijuana. The Biden administration is poised to make a landmark change to the federal government's position on marijuana with a proposed plan that would no longer consider marijuana among the most dangerous and addictive substances. In what would be the biggest change in marijuana policy, the federal government has taken since pot was first outlawed. That's so crazy. Outlawed. Outlaw drugs. I'm smoking grass. The Drug Enforcement Administration will take public comments on a plan to recategorize marijuana under the oh my god, I can't finish this. Under the Controlled Substances Act, according to a source familiar with the process. The news was first reported by the Associated Press. The Department of Justice will send its recommendation to reclassify marijuana from a Schedule 1 drug to a Schedule 3 drug to the White House Office of Management and Budget, according to the source, who is not authorized to speak publicly. The Justice Department is expected to transmit the recommendation today, the source said. So that's very cool news. I love to hear it. I'm trying to see here. What is a schedule? I think heroin, LSD, and ecstasy are like some Schedule 1 drugs that marijuana is classified with. Now, I would add, of those I've mentioned, LSD and ecstasy should not be Schedule 1. I don't know, maybe that's a hot take. Trust me, I have hotter takes if you really want to hear them. But, it is what it is. It's going to be hopefully moved, if things go as, we're thinking now, to a Schedule 3, which will put it amongst drugs like Tylenol, codeine, and anabolic steroids. I think maybe ketamine might also be in there, which I was kind of surprised that was Schedule 3, but then it's like, yeah, whatever. Of course, Elon Musk can take it, so, it's fine, right? It's totally cool, right? But yeah, I think this is just a long time coming, right? And at the same time, you can kind of go throughout the article and they emphasize that it's like, this isn't changing things per se, because it's still, we still have this duality of, not having it legal federally, but then having, 24 states having it legal. There's still this duality, there's still that problem that we have to fix and correct, and this isn't changing that, right? But I do think it's something that's lowering the temperature in a good way, and I love to see that, because I still remember hearing, for the first time that marijuana was a Schedule 1 drug and what it was put up against. And it's like, are you really going to tell me this shit is as bad as heroin, bro? You're really telling me Reefer Madness is doing this to the streets, bro? Come on. I just get the munchies, man. Just relax. Please. Just be for real for a second. They do go through the pros and cons of smoking marijuana on the article. I'll spare you that. If you know, you know. I hope you know, right? I hope you dance with Mary Jane at least a time or two, Otherwise, how the hell did you get here? what tumbleweed did you blow in on? But oh boy, man, active upstairs. Speaking of tumbleweeds, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really have too much to say after that. Once again, I'm gonna call this a silver lining, even though it's not technically major news. We'll see what really comes of it, if it's actually concrete or not. But any progress forward on the marijuana front is good news for me. I'm twirling the streamers over it, baby. So yeah, we'll leave it off there. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, you become a newsie today. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Free ways to contact me, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or contact me on any of the socials, either myself or the podcast itself. Hopefully you subscribe to the YouTube. I literally could use all the subscribers. I'm in my 60s, okay? I need to get those numbers up, okay? I'm trying to hit 69, okay? I'm trying to get that nice number. Also, we're trying to get 69,000 plays on Spotify. I plan on posting about that. It's coming up. Hopefully I don't miss it. Fingers crossed, right? Knock on some wood. But yeah, help me get there. That also helps, right? Just doing what you're doing now, listening, making it this far, breaking the fucking algorithmic data point, because most people literally tone off on my shit at 10 minutes. And I'm like not even done yapping. I've just gotten started. Like, I'm fully lubricated at that point. It's crazy that you would leave then. But it happens, and I understand. You got better things to do, motherfuckers to listen to. I appreciate all my clickers, my skippers, and my downtown shippers. I don't know. I made the last one up. I made them all up. What am I saying? Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend, and hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.